Hey everybody, it's Brandon Williams with Southeast Marketing Group SimpliHom. I've got Steve Tunn here. He is with Aviator Home Loans. I got the pleasure of meeting him several months back. He is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the mortgage industry, and he is going to discuss some topics on VA loans and the benefits for veterans that are out there. Steve, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thanks so much, Brandon. Yeah, Steve Tunn here with Aviator Home Loans. I've been in the industry about 5 years now, kind of working different channels, but recently we opened up our own mortgage brokerage here in the Fayette County area. So I'm in Peachtree City, but we do loans all throughout Georgia. We actually went in Florida, Texas, Virginia, and Colorado. But our true passion is helping veterans. I'm a veteran myself. And so we built this company to fill in some of the gaps of service that I would get throughout moving in my military career of 17 years was let's find how to help these veterans a little bit better. And we do a lot through education and a lot of just making the process very smooth for them is how we do it. And if you're about to buy a home and you're a veteran, here are a couple of things you need to know whenever you start the process. The biggest thing is, what is a VA loan? The VA loan is just a loan that's backed by the government. And with the backing of the government, that allows the mortgage companies, they actually will have a little bit lower rates. And the guidelines are different than conventional NFHA. It's a transitory loan product, which means it is meant for people who have complex income. And it's meant for people who are, transitioning from active duty to service or, into the civilian world. That's what the program is meant for. So there's a lot more flexibility in the program. And that really comes down to some of the key benefits. It's kind of the next thing you focus on is there's no down payment required on it. There's no private mortgage insurance required on it.
I didn't know that.
Additionally, you're going to have the lower interest rate because it's backed by the government. It's a unique loan program because some of the closing costs can be limited with the seller can help pay that through negotiations. And of course, there's no prepayment penalty if you decide to pay this off early, want to move into a different type of loan program. It's relatively quick to do. And so those are the benefits. And then really, it's a pretty short loan process for us to use your VA loan. It is, we just need your certificate of eligibility. We help you get that. Get a VA approved lender. We can help you with that here in the Fayette County area. Get pre-approved. You want to make sure you work with people who do a thorough pre-approval because you want to know your numbers and your pre-approval whenever you go shopping. That's one thing we've seen a lot is I was pre-approved by such and such. And then they come to us and they have questions. And we're like, did you submit your documents? They're like, no. So we want to make sure it's a real good pre-approval. And that really will save you time and the realtor's time. And it actually gives a better experience of what you're doing.
I'm glad
Your home.
I'm sorry, I cut you off there, but I'm glad you said that because I've been touching on that in a lot of the videos I do, making sure that you've got your pre-approval done. I actually did one on institutional buyers, your corporations,
Yeah.
and they're paying cash. And I've been harping in my videos, telling people to make sure they get their pre-approvals. Do you guys go ahead and do things through underwriting as well to kind of get the process expedited?
We do, Brandon. We do. We're very, I think I call it stingy with our pre-approvals and the fact we want to make sure all their income is verified. We make sure all their assets are verified, that they have funds for down payment and closing cost. Obviously, you have 0% down payment, but you're still responsible for closing costs.
Sure.
And your liabilities are able to afford a home. And we put all of those three things go into a system called AUS, automatic underwriting system, to actually pre-approve you through a full underwrite. We can go to a human underwriter. We will do that on complex, situations, but you are fully underwritten by the time we hand you a pre-approval. Specifically, what that does is it allows us to close the loan in under 14 days.
Nice.
And that gives, in our market, a very competitive advantage whenever you're putting offers in, whenever the realtor's on your behalf, whenever Brandon's out there talking to people for you, whenever you say, hey, we can close this in 14 days with a very strong pre-approval, it helps put you in a position to win the home and get into the home faster and helping the veterans, what we're doing.
Very good. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I just happened to be harping on that a lot. So I wanted you to expound on it a
No,
little.
no, no,
Appreciate it.
no, that's perfect, Brandon. I mean, I'd really kind of, summarize the tail end here is, we get you pre-approved. And really the biggest thing is, working with really strong quality, realtors that understand the market, that understand negotiations. We've seen Brand's a fantastic realtor that understands these things. And you want to make sure you talk to people who can understand the VA system, how it works. One thing on the VA loan that's very unique is we have 2 attempts for a low appraisal. Conventional, you don't get an attempt. So we have 2 opportunities. One is called a Tidewater, which is we just give them more comps. That's all the appraiser says. Hey, we don't have enough comps to support the purchase price, and they want to protect the veteran. So we submit them within 48 hours. If that doesn't work, the veteran, we help them do what they call a reconsideration of value. That the VA, the Regional Loan Center, can just act on the best interest of the veteran and increase your appraised value, what they call the notice value. They can increase it up to 10% of what the appraiser gave you. So there's a lot of wiggle room on VA appraisals. There's a lot of intentional gray area to benefit the veteran is what the VA is very aggressive about. And we've had tremendous success working those appraisal issues through the appraisal system. Usually it's always a net benefit for the veteran. So, then you close your loan, you sign, you get your paperwork, and it's a great day after that.
Yeah, it's always a good day to close.
Yeah.
Speaking on the appraisals, I had an instance in Tennessee years ago. And I don't know if it's common down here, but the guy was trying to buy a historic home and it had peeling paint and it was built in 1800. So there was the fear of lead. Do you see a lot of that in Georgia or any of the markets that you work in where they're getting denied because of potential health risk?
You won't get denied. Like I said, the VA is always going to look out of the best interest of the veteran. So whenever you frame something of inspection issue, a appraisal issue, think of it through the lens of the VA protecting the veteran, protecting the little brother. And so when you talk about peeling paint, if the house is greater than 1978, it's assumed there's lead-based paint in the house, regardless if there's a seller disclosure that states it's not. So all that happens is it requires a special type of fix, and it's not anything. You don't have to get some special contractor. It's just the contractor has to state that he did the fix in accordance with the VA lending handbook, and we just give them the sheet of paper that said, "I need you to sand it, paint it twice, and take a picture and give me the invoice." That's
Sure.
very, very simple, but working with VA lenders that understand that process help really deliver the communication that needs to be done. So when a realtor or the veteran has a question about a peeling paint, chipping paint, only around the garage or a rot on the garage, you'll see, we just call up the contractor and say, "Yep, I need you to do it exactly like this. Can you do that for me?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure."
Sure.
And then we just hand it right back to the VA and it works.
Yeah, this particular instance, it got denied because the seller wasn't willing to give any concessions, and you had a barn fence, the house. I mean, there was just a magnitude of things that were wrong with it, and we didn't have a lot of hope going into it. We knew anyway, but we tried.
Yeah.
So when I say denied, I said that loosely. It was not approved because the seller wasn't willing to give concessions, and the buyer didn't have the money to go in and basically do the full renovation on the house because, like I said, it was an 1800s house. It's a cool house. But yeah, that one didn't work out. We ended up getting something different that was newer.
Well, I think that's an important point you just made about the seller had input for the VA loan. And I think that's one thing that is often misconstrued in real estate is the VA built the loan to protect the veteran, but it also helps the seller. And there's protections on the seller side who's not a veteran, who's not anything like that. And when you start getting in complex negotiations, I think it's really important to make sure the realtor and everyone understands what the seller can request some things with the VA lending handbook that people don't understand, such as, let's say the appraisal comes in low. A lot of times people are like, "Well, you got to drop your price because it's a VA loan." Nope. The actual VA lending handbook says an interested party can request a reconsideration of value. An interested party is the listing side and the seller. So that's one thing we always try to teach our realtors and we teach our veterans is saying, This is a very great loan product. I think it's the best one that we have here in the great US. But we always say too on the listing side and the sellers, hey, you got a ton of protections also. The VA made sure that if you're going to help the veteran, we're going to make sure you're protected too. In fact, you can request certain things for the veteran to do and to assist with throughout the transaction.
Very cool. Yeah, and then, speaking of that too, that also helps with their liability when they're going in doing the inspections as well. That helps
Yeah.
the seller have peace of mind when they sell, so they don't have to worry about is the buyer going to come back later on and say they were misled or whatever the case may be, because there's that added layer of inspection through the appraisal process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very good, man. Very good.
Okay. Well, you got anything else for us, Steve?
Nope. Thanks for having us on here. We're always available to help you guys out in the Fayette County area. We always say, even if we're not working the transaction, if you have any VA issues with a veteran, we are always here to help. I'll share my contact information with Brandon, just so you always get a hold of us. We do have a pretty good sized team. So we have plenty of resources to help the veterans and make sure, we're getting them into homes that, they deserve. It's an earned benefit. The only earned benefit in real estate is they served in the military and now they get to use this loan product. So it's pretty
Sure.
cool to do, and very thankful to help a lot of veterans.
Well, why don't you go ahead and plug your website and your phone number and everything, and then I'll make sure it's in the comments or whatever, so everybody can get a hold of you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the website's pretty simple. It's aviatorhomeloans.com, and email address is steve@aviatorhomeloans.com. And then my personal cell is 901-497-9877.
Awesome. So which branch did you serve in?
So I was Navy.
You're
I did
Navy.
Navy.
My son was interested in Navy. So thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time, Steve, and hopefully we'll be doing some business together. I know we had a interesting one. Just for everybody's information, Steve and his team work diligently to get people approved as hard as they possibly can. The responsibility does lie on the buyer to tell the truth, though. You got to make sure that you provide all the information so that he can do his job as efficiently as he possibly can. If you're going to contact Steve, just make sure you're upfront with everything, and he'll do everything in his power to get you approved.
Thanks, Brandon.
All right. Well, everybody have a great day, Steve. I really appreciate it.
Okay.